The Zorathian ambassador's ship spiraled out of control, flames licking its hull as it hurtled toward Earth's surface. The once proud diplomat of a vast galactic empire, now a broken symbol of superiority, screamed into the void. "Do not rescue me, Earthlings." Her voice was defiant, shaking, filled with fury and terror. "I would rather perish than owe my life to humans." But as the emergency lights of the ship flashed in rhythm with her panic, Captain Elias Carter stood on the bridge of the rescue ship, his jaw set in a quiet defiance that bordered on reckless heroism. "She doesn't have to like us," he muttered under his breath, strapping into the cockpit of his sleek rescue craft. "She just has to live." Prejudice in the Star's ambassador Lyra Viezoth had been born on Zorath Prime, a world whose lush green landscapes and towering citadels were testament to the Zorathian species' greatness. Every aspect of her life had been shaped by the belief in her people's inherent superiority. The Zorathians had long ruled their part of the galaxy with a firm grip, holding themselves above all others. They were the first to travel the stars, the first to harness true intergalactic power. Humans, on the other hand, were considered nothing more than a primitive species, their societies constantly in chaos, their technology barely enough to escape Earth's gravity. Her career had been dedicated to ensuring Zorathian dominance in the Galactic Council. Humans were a constant thorn in her side, their unchecked expansion and growing influence making her more resentful. Earth's continued attempts to establish diplomatic relations with other galactic species were seen as a nuisance, a planet full of savages with a dangerous level of ambition. Her mission to Earth had not been her choice, but rather one forced upon her by political maneuvering. She had been sent to Earth to negotiate trade rights, securing valuable resources to fuel the needs of her people. The very thought of working with what she deemed a lesser species filled her with disgust. But duty had its demands, and her people's survival was paramount. Yet, from the moment her ship entered Earth's orbit, she was disgusted by what she saw. The planet was marred by an endless spread of cities, their structures chaotic and haphazard. The atmosphere, thick with smog, was nothing like the clean, controlled air of Zorath Prime. The people of humanity seemed frantic and disorganized, lacking the grace and intelligence she believed only the Zorathians could possess. But then disaster struck. A mysterious surge of energy, originating from Earth's surface, tore through her ship's systems, causing them to short-circuit. Panic surged through her as the ship spun wildly toward the ground. The automated systems failed, the ship's AI voice blaring a final warning as her craft began its uncontrollable descent. Her ship, a once pristine symbol of Zorathian might, was now a falling fireball, and she could do nothing but brace for impact. A human's gamble, Captain Elias Carter, a seasoned veteran of numerous space operations and a retired soldier, had long since learned to view the galaxy with a healthy dose of skepticism. His role in Earth's interstellar peacekeeping program had exposed him to numerous alien cultures, many of which shared a deep disdain for humanity. He had seen firsthand how the Zorathians and other advanced species viewed Earthlings as primitive, no more than children playing at the galactic table. But to Elias, humanity wasn't defined by its imperfections. It was defined by its actions, by its courage, by its ability to push forward despite overwhelming odds. No other species had shown such resilience. When the distress call from Lyra's ship came through, Elias was working late, reviewing reports. The call had come in as a mere blip on the radar, a dying signal from a ship that many in the Earth Command deemed unworthy of saving. "Let her crash," one official muttered from a nearby console. "We've got bigger problems than a Zorathian diplomat." Elias clenched his fists, his jaw tightening. "Not on my watch," he snapped, rising from his seat. Without waiting for permission, he commandeered a sleek, untested rescue craft designed for high-speed atmospheric re-entry. The ship was experimental, but he was the best pilot for the job. As he made preparations, his superiors voiced their concerns, but Elias was already moving, launching the craft with a defiance that mirrored his sense of purpose. "I'm going in," he said to the control room. "And I'm bringing her back." The wreckage of Lyra's ship smoldered in the distance as Elias's craft made its descent toward the chaos below. The thick cloud of smoke and debris made visibility difficult, but he didn't hesitate. His eyes locked on the wreck, calculating the odds of surviving the rescue, but all that mattered was getting there in time. Inside the damaged vessel, Lyra had regained partial consciousness. The ship was a smoldering wreck, flames consuming the walls, toxic fumes filling the air as she struggled to free herself from the twisted metal. Her body ached, and her mind was clouded by pain, but her pride burned hotter than the fire around her. No, she muttered to herself. The humans wouldn't, would they? Her pride warred with her instincts for survival. It was a battle she was losing. Then, through the fire and wreckage, a figure appeared. A human figure. Elias entered the wreckage in a reinforced exosuit, his heavy boots crunching against the debris as he approached the pinned ambassador. "Ambassador, I'm getting you out of here." His voice was firm, unwavering, even though the world around them threatened to collapse. Lyra's violet eyes shot daggers at him, her face twisted in fury. "Leave me. I won't be indebted to a human." "Fine," Elias shot back, his voice cold. "Hate me all you want. But hate me alive." He bent down, hoisting her over his shoulder despite her struggles, and began fighting his way back through the flames, ignoring the cracks of explosions around them. Enemies within. Back aboard the rescue craft, Lyra was secured in a medical pod, her injuries tended to as best as Elias could manage. She remained silent, her pride still stronger than any gratitude. "This doesn't change anything," she hissed through gritted teeth. "You're still beneath us." Elias smirked, his eyes glinting with amusement. "Glad to know your sense of superiority survived the crash." But before either of them could speak further, the radar pinged. An unidentified ship had appeared, circling them like a predator. It wasn't Earth-based, nor was it Zorathian. The ship's sleek, dark design was the unmistakable signature of the Syndicate, a shadowy criminal faction with their eyes set on the galaxy's wealthiest individuals. The Syndicate was after one thing: leverage. They wanted Lyra alive for ransom or to manipulate her empire. They didn't care about humanity, they only cared about their profits. Elias's small, battered rescue craft was no match for the heavily armed Syndicate vessel. As it boarded, he exchanged a glance with Lyra, silently asking if she was ready to fight. "Can you fight?" he asked, his voice steady despite the odds. Lyra's gaze was cold, her pride still intact even as the danger pressed in. "I am Zorathian. We are not primitive brawlers." "Great," Elias said, tossing her a pulse rifle. "You're about to learn." Unlikely allies, the Syndicate underestimated Elias's combat skills and Lyra's brilliant mind. While Elias handled most of the physical fighting, taking down Syndicate thugs with a precision honed over years of military experience, Lyra quickly adapted to the technology aboard their ship. Her understanding of alien tech allowed her to hack into the Syndicate's systems, disabling their weapons and shields. In the thick of the battle, Lyra's perception of Elias began to change. His relentless courage, his selflessness, nothing about it matched the human savagery she had been taught to expect. When a blast tore through the hull, Elias threw himself in front of her, taking a near-fatal hit. He collapsed to the floor, blood staining his uniform. "Why would you risk yourself for someone who despises you?" she demanded, her voice raw with a mix of anger and concern. Elias grinned weakly, his voice barely a whisper. "Because that's what we do." Against all odds, Elias and Lyra defeated the Syndicate forces, using a combination of raw skill, quick thinking, and pure willpower. Their escape wasn't clean, but it was a victory. As they limped back to Earth, Lyra's hands were steady as she helped pilot the damaged ship. Once they reached Earth, Lyra found herself standing before Elias in the medical bay. He had taken several hits in the battle, his wounds more severe than he let on, but he wore his exhaustion with quiet pride. You are. Not what I expected, she said, the words coming out softer than she intended. Elias chuckled, his breath shallow. I'll take that as a compliment. Her violet eyes softened. Perhaps I misjudged your species. If even one human can show such courage, perhaps there is hope for you yet. Months later, Lyra returned to Earth, not as an ambassador of disdain but as a bridge between their species. She was a different woman now, one who had seen humanity's heart up close. Her reports to the Zorathian Council were no longer filled with scorn, but with admiration for the resilience, courage, and unyielding spirit of humanity. Elias, on the other hand, became a quiet hero, a name whispered in awe across the galaxy. He refused accolades, preferring to stay in the shadows. But when he saw Lyra defending Earth's place in the Galactic Council, her voice strong and unwavering, he smiled. I hated them once, Lyra declared, addressing the council. But now, I see them for what they truly are, the heart of the galaxy.